Let's look at this question. Cherry. This is a question on purchase cycle, just to test your understanding again and to give a bit of more insight on the process we just completed. Before you go into the details of the question, I always advise please read the requirement. So let's go and look at the requirement. In respect of the purchasing system of Cherry, number 1, identify and explain 5 deficiencies. This question is very clear. You need 5 deficiencies and you have to identify it. You need to explain it as well to get a full mark. And after, the second one says, recommend control to address each of these deficiencies. Like I always tell you, please answer your questions in audit most times using the tabular form. Sometimes you earn extra mark by doing that, and also it helps the examiner to see what you're doing and give you your deserved marks. You can see what I've done. I have a column for deficiency, I have a column for explanation, and I have a column for control activity. So with this, it's difficult for any examiner to say he missed something out and did not give me my mark. Right. So please use this format. So these are the 3 things we need to address in this question. So when we read, you will start reading and start identifying deficiency once you see it. And once the deficiency, every other one is seamless. So as I'm going to read through the case, put your mind, remember what we said about purchase cycle. It starts with need identification, which is the creation of PR, to placing an order, that's purchase order, and to receiving an order, GRN, and we'll receive an invoice, then we'll pay. And that is P2P cycle, purchase to pay, right? Extremely important you understand each document and what they are used for, because without documentations you cannot do the audit, and that is all you need. Even by the time we get to substantive testing, you need to know these procedures through the documentations. Without documents, it's going to be difficult for you. So please get used to each of these documents. Now let's go into the case itself. So Cherry manufactures custom-made furniture and its year-end is 30th of April. The company purchases its raw materials from a wide range of suppliers. Below is a description of Cherry purchasing system. So this paragraph is gone. There is no deficiency there. Let's go to the next paragraph. When production supervisors require raw materials, now they're talking about need identification. They complete a requisition form, that is purchase requisition form, PR, and this is submitted to the purchase ordering department. Look at it. Requisition forms do not require authorization. You can see this is already a problem because we said requisition form should be approved by a manager, right? After he has confirmed that the requisition is for valid business purposes and also there is no excess item. Truly, we don't have the item in stock, right? So you can start seeing the problem. Let's continue reading. And no reference is made to the current inventory level. Exactly. That's another problem that we just discussed. Remember, let your mind go into what could go wrong. Remember those risks that we identify when we're talking about purchase cycle. We said there's a risk that we're buying things that we don't need, or we're buying things that is not for valid business purpose, or we're buying things that we already have. All right. Now, staff in the purchase ordering department use the requisition to raise sequentially numbered purchase orders. That is a good one. Based on the approved supplier list. Very good. Which was last updated 24 months ago. You can see this is another problem. You've only updated your supplier list 24 months ago. So that is not good. This is not good. It's too late. The purchasing director authorizes the orders prior to this being sent to the supplier. That's a good one. So, because sometimes the question might ask you to identify strength as well in the process. So you need to know how to identify controls when you see them. So it's not just weaknesses, but also strengths are very important. Now, we saw 3 in this paragraph, so there are 3 weaknesses here. When the goods are received, the warehouse department verifies the quantity to the supplier dispatch note and checks that the quality of the goods received are satisfactory. So quality of goods satisfactory is good. However, they should not just be checking with dispatch note. What about dispatch note comes from the supplier? Remember, when we look at revenue process, supplier will bring his own dispatch note based on what he has taken from his own warehouse. However, what you need to be doing here is to be checking that what the supplier is giving you is the same as what you have requested for. And where do you get information on what you have requested for? It's on your PO. So they should be checking with PO and likewise dispatch notes. But for them, it's actually the PO that is most important, because you want to be sure that what they are delivering, which is what they have received, is the same as what you have ordered. And what you have ordered is on the PO. So they don't do that. That's a deficiency. Okay, they complete a sequentially numbered goods receipt note and send a copy of the GRN to finance, which is good. Purchase invoices are sent directly to the purchase ledger clerk, who stores them in a manual file until the end of each week. Why are you storing invoice to the end of each week? Invoices should be processed immediately. So that's a deficiency, because if you don't process immediately, you can misplace them. Or you might not even treat them on time. Right? So that's a problem. That's not good. It then imputes them into the purchase ledger using batch controls and gives each invoice a unique number based on the supplier code. This is not also good, that you're giving invoice unique number based on supplier code. You should number your invoice as you receive them sequentially. So it will be difficult to manage completeness of invoice then. That's another problem. So we've already even seen six problems. 6 weaknesses. The invoices are reviewed and authorized for payment by finance director, but the actual payment is only made 60 days. Wow. So payment is made 60 days after the invoice is input into the system. That is not also good. That is too late. 60 days. Yeah. You need to be working with the suppliers' payment days, right? Though that was not given, but best practice is usually 30 days. So 60 days will not cut it. Now let's answer the question. From this, we have even 7 that's clearly stated in the question. But beyond that, you can still think about the process itself and ask yourself, what are other controls you expect that you cannot see, which has not been clearly stated here. But because it's questions that already have a lot of weaknesses, you don't need to bring all those one in again. You can just focus on what has been clearly said in the question. So let's go for it. And we'll start with number 1, deficiency. And the first deficiency we have there is at the requisition stage, which is that requisition is not approved by a manager. Remember, the control you expect is that every requisition is approved by manager. So that your deficiency, the opposite is your control. So the control activity, before we even come to explanation, you can quickly write your control so you don't forget. The control is that the manager should review and approve all requisition. Yeah. And now explanation is where I'm going to be a bit careful with you. Please don't get confused with explanation. Explanation is just requiring to tell the examiner, why is this a deficiency? What can go wrong? That is the explanation. What can go wrong? Because the requisition is not approved by a manager. Explanation is about what can go wrong. So if it's not approved by manager, what can go wrong? It means that goods might be ordered for personal use. For personal use, which means not for valid business purpose. Right. So remember, that is always your explanation. It's about why is this a deficiency. So reduction is not approved by manager is a deficiency because goods might be ordered for personal use. And how to prevent that is to ensure that the manager reviews and approves all requisition. Simple. That's one. The second one we identify is the fact that there's no reference to current level of inventory. That's also a problem. So deficiency is a no check of current level of inventory before order is placed. And I'm sure this is very clear to you. If you don't check current level of inventory, then you keep ordering and you have so many orders that you don't even need. Yeah. So what could go wrong? What could go wrong is that company might order items already in stock. So which means you have excess stock. And what is the control? Control is that you must always check your inventory level before a requisition is approved. So review of current inventory level. Inventory level before any order is approved. Order requisition is approved. Very important. So now we have to, so at that level where we're ordering, those are the things that we have considered as deficiency. So it's very important. And it's even also interesting because that's the early part of the ordering process. And we already have two things that can go wrong. Another thing we saw that can go wrong, the third one is this one, which is supplier list. What is the advantage of having a supplier list? When you have a supplier list, it means that you have a pool of options. And when you have pool of options, you have many people you can send requisition to give you a quote. So when you send a PO out and say, give me a quote for this item, you are able to go for the cheapest supplier. And with that, you're able to save money and be more efficient in your purchase to pay cycle. So, but the problem is that this one has not been updated for the last 24 months. So it's possible that newer suppliers are in town or price of things have even become cheaper and you are not aware. So the problem or the weakness is that supplier list was last updated 24 months ago. So 3, keep going. Supplier list was last updated 24 months ago. That's too long. That's too long. So what we'll advise is that supplier list should be updated annually. That is the best practice. Every year should be updated every year. And what's the explanation? The explanation is what could go wrong. Yeah, the fact that company might miss out on cheaper or even better supplier, because some supplier can just have better quality. Yeah, so you might miss out because you are not checking, you are not adding new suppliers, you are not removing the bad ones, you just left them there, which is not good. Okay, so we've taken care of that. Number 4 is this: when good is received. When good is received, the warehouse department verifies the quantity to the dispatch note. That is a weakness. It should be verified to the purchase order. Right? So here, goods received, are not verified with purchase order. And you know the control is the opposite of the weakness. Yeah. When goods arrive, they have to be compared with purchase order to ensure that correct goods are being received. Remember, I said it in my previous video that if you receive goods and you check with the PO and does not tie, you should not receive those goods. And in that case, you should not even bother issuing any good receipt note because you return that delivery. So, goods received must be agreed with PO details before issuing good receipt notes. Don't issue good receipt notes until that comparison is done and you are satisfied that what the supplier has delivered is the same as what you have ordered. What you have ordered is in PO. You compare that with what the actual goods the supplier have brought in. If that are both okay, then you can issue a good receipt note confirming that you have received an item. So if you don't do that comparison, what could go wrong? It's very easy. The problem is that you might be receiving what you did not order. So, which is not what you want. So the risk is that company might accept goods that have not been ordered. And eventually you pay for it. So that's waste of resources. Let's keep going. That's number 4. We are only asked to do 5, but we'll finish all that we've identified. So we've done this. That's those 4. The 5th one is invoice. When invoice is received. When invoice is received, they are stored in a manual from the end of each week. So invoices are kept until end of each week. That is not good. You process immediately. And now we can write what can go wrong immediately. Invoices might be missing and as such not processed. And therefore not processed. If you don't process the invoice, you just be carrying ACCA forever, because at GRN you would have booked an ACCA and you'd be thinking the supplier has not brought in their invoice. So that is bad. Yeah, so you can think about it. What is the solution to this? What is the control? I think we should, yeah. So we should process it immediately. Yeah. So once you receive the invoice, the clerk should just check that, okay, yes. Remember the three-way check, that for that invoice, there's a GRN and there's a PO for it. And at that point, the invoice should be processed. Yeah. So invoices should be agreed to GRN and PO immediately and processed. Very important. Remember, this is the three-way check that I mentioned the last time. Once you do that, then the invoice is ready to be processed. So if in exams, this 5, you already have your full marks, but obviously it doesn't end there, because some questions might ask for 8, some questions might ask for 7. So let's keep going. Let's try and exhaust all the options we have here. The fact that invoices are also not sequentially numbered is not good. So invoices, any document should be sequentially numbered. Please take note. I think I've mentioned it before as well. Invoices are given unique number based on the supplier code. Yeah. What could go on is that it might be difficult to really achieve or identify missing invoices. So missing invoices might not be promptly detected because it's not sequential. Remember, if it is sequential, if you treat 1, 2, 3, and the next invoice you are treating is 15, you'll be asking, what's going on? Where are the other invoices between 4 to 15? Right? So sequential number is very important. So your recommendation will be to ensure that invoices are given sequential number. Please, very important. Very, very important. We'll keep going. Number 7. We still have more. Payments is made 60 days after invoice receipt. That is not best practice. That is delayed. Yeah. So quickly, payments should be promptly made in line with suppliers' terms. Yeah. And why is it a problem? Because there's a potential to lose goodwill, to lose suppliers' goodwill, and might definitely stop supplying the company. Might stop supplying the company. And if you don't get goods from your supplier, you're gradually going out of business, because that's a critical part of your value chain. So those are 7 good deficiencies in this small question. As short as it is loaded. As you can see, I always say it cannot go beyond this. Remember, I said the the process, when we look at the process, we looked at it in terms of the process, we looked at the risk, we looked at the control objective, and we looked at control activity, and even we looked at the test procedures. Like I said, there's no question that can go outside these 5 things that we have looked at. So please revise those process, and every time you are approaching a question, think about the process, think about what can go wrong, think about what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it, and how auditors might test that control.